reading what people in the industry, the way they talk about animals, it freaks me out. Welcome to Rising Anxieties, where we think about what's making the industry nervous, and I talk about a lot about what's making me nervous, and a few other things if it's interesting. I'm going to start with some triumphant talk from the industry. This is by Jack Hubbard. He's a PR guy for the industry from Berman, and a big ag industry PR firm. And he talks like a PR guy. like he talks like everything is great. And a lot of it is great for the industry. I'm not going to deny it. Activists, that's us. Activists struggling with corporate campaigns. This is from Meeting Place. Over a decade ago, he starts out, animal rights activists found success in bullying restaurants, supermarkets, and food service companies into making pledges to only buy cage-free eggs before moving on to pork and poultry pledge campaigns. Fast forward to now, and the tide seems to have shifted. And the rest of his article is kind of just a story of how bad a job all of these corporate campaigns are doing. And, how we're really not making any, or we or they or whoever it is isn't making a lot of progress. And why are animal activists struggling? Several reasons come to mind. First, some corporate leaders have wised up to the activist game. Here he's referring to the fact that it's never enough. Just because they make one welfare improvement doesn't mean that activists will be satisfied. Yeah, exactly. Like the people you're trying to impress, folks, isn't the activist. You don't care about the activists. You know that. You're trying to impress the public. And so if the public is happy with what you're doing, that's all you have to pull off. So why would you even worry about that? Unacceptable environmental costs are another thing. This is the thing they're always bringing out about the welfare campaigns for quote unquote broiler chickens. And because the fact is that if you treat them better and you don't use these incredibly fast growing breeds, which is horrible for their welfare, then you end up having to raise more birds per year. To me, this is evidence that the whole fucking thing doesn't work, so give up. That is not how they see it. They see it that, for them, the planet is so important. I guess that's how they see it. And he also points out that just because, and he gives a lot of statistics, I won't go through all of that, about what a tiny number of animals have been affected. And he says the corporate campaign game isn't won yet, and it may never be. I think that's true. I mean, they'll never be any good. The treatment of animals will always be horrible, and there will always be some people who care. And then he makes fun of us a little bit, like, while you, talking to his readers, might enjoy a Saturday afternoon with family and friends, vegan activists spend their free time protesting and calling corporate headquarters. Well, I wish I spent all my free time doing that. There is an implication here that I don't have any family or friends, I think, but maybe I'm reading too much into this. Dealing with activists can be a never-ending war. I like that one. Interestingly, Meeting Place, this industry site, published a response from Matthew Dominguez, who's with he runs the U.S. Division of Compassion and World Farming, which is a big corporate campaign organization. That's one of that's kind of, I think, their main activist work. And he points out that not only have we been working on it, but our efforts have been affirmed at the ballot box, upheld in the courts, embraced in boardrooms. It's unfortunate that some continue to defend the cruelest practices, resisting what is clearly inevitable. And then he gets into some different numbers. 45% of eggs sold in the U.S. come from cage-free systems. That has been a huge campaign, of course, and some major companies like McDonald's and others have made and actually have been starting to deliver on these public commitments to drive this transition. So if that's the kind of thing that I know some of you out there think that cage-free and other corporate campaigns like that can be a negative. I know people in the movement have always thought this, or they can be destructive to what we want to accomplish because they set us back, because it makes people think that things have been fixed. And I, I'm not close to that point of view, but I'm not convinced by it. And because I never have seen anybody who seems to worry about it at all. It's not like when the cage-free commitments come in, they stop worrying. The vast majority of people don't seem to worry at all. And for some other reasons too. I'm not convinced that it sets us back. It's not my personal way forward. I'm not sure what the big theory of change is, because my ultimate goal is always a vegan world. Don't laugh. It's my ultimate goal. And like I like to see how anything that I support would be a step in the direction toward a vegan world. And I'm not sure I see that with the corporate campaigns, but I might be wrong. I mean, I have seen research that indicated that not only do they not set us back, but people are more likely to eat plant-based when they hear about these improvements in animal welfare. I think it says something like that. Anyway, I'm digressing as usual. Matthew also talks about pork production. According to the USDA, over 40% of pork now comes from supply chains that have reduced the use of or eliminated gestation stalls completely. I mean, that's hardly monumental, but it's an unbelievable accomplishment. Well, in this relatively short amount of time we have been doing this, and the industry that we are up against. So yeah, I mean, progress has been made. Progress is going to continue to be made. Broiler chickens, it is clear that broiler chickens have been a harder nut to crack. But according to Matthew, the Better Chicken Commitment is what they call it, which I think is a good name, Better Chicken Commitment. They're not just saying that this is best or great. They're just saying it's better than the other one. Is already generating tangible results, and talks about some. These are more nascent steps on the way to change. Purdue Farms worked with Compassionate World Farming on a large-scale commercial trial demonstrating that higher welfare breeds can be raised successfully at scale. Blah blah, and things like that. Like toward a direction of where chickens will suffer quite the same amount, but will still suffer an enormous amount, which is what corporate campaigns are about. And he also talks about the fact that this does seem to be important to consumers, and it's not necessarily incompatible with sustainability if you actually try to work towards that. And concludes with, the true story of animal welfare's role in food production is not about struggle. It is about fundamental transformation, collaboration, and the undeniable trend toward more humane practices. Like I said, it's not a good enough world for me by even the furthest stretch of the imagination. No matter what they do, it's still going to cause enormous, completely and totally unnecessary suffering to animals. But I'm not sure that it sets us back. I am really not sure of that. So I think it's really interesting how much the industry hates it, how much they're willing to prevaricate about it, and actually how much they are working towards it. Not a lot, but certainly not the completely giving up on it the way that the first article pointed out. All right, speaking of the other way forward, and also by industry giants, are industry giants also embracing another way forward? This is from Plant-Based News, our friends at Plant-Based News. Brazilian meat juggernaut JBS launches new plant-based collective for EU brands. And this has always been an interesting quandary. Why do the meat giants, and there's literally no bigger meat giant than JBS, the Brazilian company. Why do they have these like branches that kind of are creating either plant-based proteins or sometimes cell-based proteins? Is it because they're worried? Is it because they want to bring them up so that they can keep them down? That if they control both sides of the market, they can regulate that. Like, they want to make money. Let's face it, they want to make money. But I'm still not sure exactly how they think this is going to make them more money. All right, this is something that JBS has started in Europe, and it's called the Vegetarian Butcher Collective. And it started by them buying the brand Vivera, and then they bought the brand the Vegetarian Butcher, and for understandable reasons, I think, because it's a great name. I think it's a great name. They decided to call the whole collective the Vegetarian Butcher Collective. I don't know whether they're planning on buying more companies to put in this, and so they're starting to market, and they're planning on being a new leader in European plant-based food. and to represent these product brands. And I said perhaps others. Vivera has apparently been around for a while, and it actually relatively recently launched the world's first plant-based steak. And and they have a bunch of different products. And as reported in Food Navigator, the launch of the Vegetarian Butcher Collective may indicate that JBS is doubling down on plant-based and alternative proteins. This is in Europe. They tried it in the US, but they have abandoned their US plant-based meat division in 2022. Like many in the world, they have given up on us. What can I say? Well, let's hope they come back. Well, I guess we hope they come back. Do we hope that we don't have to buy stuff from them? They're JBS. But I'd rather people bought their plant-based products than their meat products. But I'm not sure what the end game is here. They also announced its plan to expand beef exports to China, in case you thought that they had found Jesus or something. A move that experts and environmentalists warned could single-handedly turn the Amazon from a carbon sink into a significant source of emissions via deforestation. Something we're well on the way toward, with JBS is in the forefront already. And earlier this year, Greenpeace predicted that JBS is currently unlikely to achieve its pledge to eradicate illegal Amazon deforestation. Yeah, no shit. And according to World Animal Protection, JBS currently confines and slaughters more than 5 billion chickens, 53 million pigs, 27 million cows, and 8 million lambs every year. I hate them. I just hate them. I just hate them. I just hate them. All right. This is kind of an interesting story. I don't know. This has thrown them for a loop. This is from Drovers, an industry site, a cattle site mainly. Beef's Ozempic-sized challenge. Are producers ready to take it on? And the subtitle is GLP-1 drugs suppress appetite and have been shown to reduce calorie intake by up to 800 calories per person per day. GLP-1 drugs will impact consumer demands and expectations. This is by Aidan Connolly. And I'm sure they're not the only food company that is thinking, oh my God, people are going to eat less food. We've like food has been engineered by all these food companies to encourage people to eat more and more and more food, most of which is not good for you. And now apparently they're going to stop. It has been a bit of a tizzy. They're shown to reduce calorie intake by up to 800 calories per person per day. And apparently soon they're going to be coming up with pills instead of injectables. And also in 2026, the patent for semaglutide is going to expire in Brazil, China, and India. And the global market for GLP-1 drugs, already valued at $47 billion, is expected to increase tenfold by 2032. That is very soon. Producers, packers, backgrounders, and even cow-calf producers might not be paying attention yet, but they should. Yeah. Like everybody who produces food, especially food that people are not going to eat as much of, should, start being worried. There's particularly a reduced desire to eat fatty and processed foods. So that's going to affect beef growers for sure. And they've all been, apparently Walmart was doing the study back in October 23, and they have linked decreased food sales to growing use of Ozempic. I mean, obviously, people are eating less food. I'm surprised they're not more worried about this. Maybe they are. And so they're talking about junk food companies because people are going to be able to reduce their cravings. But what about beef? They talk about leaner cuts, high protein snacks, because protein is a big thing for people on GLP-1. And apparently they can't tolerate fatty foods. What does this mean for genetic selection, sex-separate feeding, cattle management, nutrition choices? Oh, honey, forget it. What does it mean for meat? Hopefully, this will be just a piece of the death knell. And death, I use the term death knell advisedly. They're talking about feed additives, animal health. Just go out of business. Give up. You have food that's bad for people. Like once people can better control their cravings, why would they want to eat your dead animals? All right, hostility, mine. I'm not sure what to do about how hostile I am towards these people, because I've read a few articles that are to me absolutely chilling. Absolutely chilling. And these aren't the industry articles. These are more personal articles. And I just it like reading what people in the industry talk the way they talk about animals, it freaks me out. It really does. Like I think that they believe it. I really do think, well, some of them, not the PR guys and stuff, but some of them, I think they truly believe it. They really think they're good people. They talk all in all about, how they're the salt of the earth. And I don't want to hate them. And I don't know how not to. I'm sure I do bad things myself that I know I do some bad things that I'm aware of, but I'm sure there are other things that I just don't see it. I'm sure that there's probably loads of them. But this is so blatant. Anyway, I'm gonna shut up. All right. The first one is more of an industry person. This is by Michelle Miller, the Farm Babe. I know I make fun of her every time I say it, but it's so funny. Why are calves taken away from dairy cows? Oh, so we're writing about this. Definitely some rising anxieties going on here. How much people are writing about how farmers actually really care for animals, and how they're becoming aware that people out there are now aware that cows are taken away from dairy cows. Something nobody used to know. Nobody used to know that you had to have a calf in order to give milk if you were a cow. Maybe you've seen those activist created videos showing a calf. Activists created videos. I mean, they are filming something. They didn't create the reality. They're just filming it. Showing a calf asking, "Where's my mom?" with melancholy music in the background. Or maybe you've seen photos of dairy cows and simply wondered why you never see them with their calves. Why could it be? It's a reasonable thing to wonder. Yeah, it is. Before the idea of and I think what she's missing, because it's so obvious to her, she's missing the fact that people just don't realize that cows have to have calves in order to give milk. Give milk. Before the idea of some tragedy fills your mind, let's talk about what happens. Why farmers separate cows from calves, and ultimately how this practice actually keeps cows and calves healthy. Spoiler alert, this isn't nearly as dramatic as some penis type videos make it out to be. All right. So one of the things they talk about, one of the things she talks about is how cows produce colostrum, which is absolutely necessary for right after the calf is born, absolutely necessary for the newborn calf to drink the colostrum because of the way it works in their immune system. And so she thinks it's good that they're separated because you never know whether that cow has good colostrum or how much or everything. So the farmer is much better at figuring that out than an old cow. That was not a quote. I'm paraphrasing. All right. This makes me insane. It really does. Cows are also big animals who aren't always the best mothers. It's really easy to project human emotions onto animals. Oh, well, maybe you should try doing that occasionally, honey. But cows do not parent the same way humans do. Cattle are herd animals. They love their friends and being with other cows. In fact, being with their calf away from the herd can make them very anxious and stressed. Yeah, cows don't like their calves. All right. Many dairy cows truly don't care much about their calves. Oh my God. She's actually writing this. And don't miss them when they're not there. Some cows will outright reject their calves. Dairy cows generally don't have a strong maternal instinct, which can sometimes lead to injuries for the calf. It's a wonder cows have survived throughout the ages, isn't it? If dairy cows and their calves were all housed together, there would be problems. With fully grown cows, are big animals. All it takes is one wrong step or one little push, and a calf could be seriously injured. Cows need time to rejoin their herd and go back to their job of eating, sleeping, and making milk. It's their job. Cows also need close monitoring and a specialized diet. Calves also require close monitoring, but obviously not by a cow, by some bozo, to make sure they are staying healthy. Think of it like sending your kid to daycare. It's a structured, safe space and is designed for a calf's specific stage of life. Let's be clear, separating cows and calves is not a cold, calculated move that makes things harder for cows to live a good life. Farmers truly care about their animals. I'm not even going to make comments because how could I add to that? All right. Oh my God. Bye, boys. That's the name of this article from Horde Dairyman. Time to serve another purpose. This is by Courtney Henderson. She is a dairy farmer. First of all, she points out that her dairy farm, raises between 30 and 50 feeder stayers to sell in the fall. This is instead of raising calves for veal, they will raise them to when they're full grown, or reasonably full. I don't know whether they're full grown for beef. She doesn't think this is a good idea, but she's not in charge at the farm. So she has to do it. And they sell their feeder steers to receive extra money in the fall. She has a love-hate relationship with these steers, to tell you the truth. It sounds mostly like hate, but she likes to think it's love. Yes, I raised them from a bottle, but they are big creatures. What a shocker. They're cows. And she talks about having been kicked, stepped on, knocked over, blah, blah, blah. They weigh anywhere from 900 to 1,000 pounds. And this week they will all load the trailers and head off to Kansas, where they will be fed out to slaughter. And she could not be more thrilled. That is clear. Once they cross the scales at the stockyard, they are no longer my problem. I have been counting down the days since March. To say I am excited for them to leave is an understatement. I know part of me will be sad. I'm trying to having a hard time finding that part of you, because of the fact that we raised them from little calves to these big, clumsy creatures. But the overall ridiculousness they have caused is enough to make me loathe them with no problem. As we say goodbye to these giant, overgrown puppy dogs. That's what you do to puppy dogs too? I don't know. I will thank them for what they are about to bring us. Oh, that's good of you. And silently celebrate their departure. No, that's silent. They have kept me on my toes and brought me more of a headache the last year or two than was necessary. So bye, boys. Yeah, farmers love their animals. Oh, this final story. Just a few more quotes about how do we think of these people? Like, how do you think of them? I know they think they're great. They think they're the salt of the earth. I keep using that expression, but it just seems appropriate. Where did that expression come from? Salt in the earth is not a good thing. Anyway, I digress. Tragic turn. Trailer of show pigs bursts into flames on I-80. This is, a horrible story about a terrible accident. And it does sound like a freak accident. They were coming home from they raised pigs. They were coming home from a show. Apparently his daughter, or the guy's daughter, it's a man and his wife, and they have a 17-year-old daughter, Holland. They were at a stock show showing her prized pigs. And somehow they passed a car that was on fire, and somehow something flew into their trailer and set it on fire. The trailer where the pigs were. Very long article going through a lot of drama. A lot of other people from the show showed up and helped them. When he opened the door to the trailer, he ran back to the trailer, he saw that their banner-winning Poland China gilt was already dead, but the other 3 pigs were hanging on to life. The Poland gilt was on the back of the trailer and had somehow broken out of her pen trying to get away. I mean, it's horrible. And it is a horrible story. This is, I'm just going to grab a few quotes out of it. It's so long, it's taking me a second. When they returned home, all right, so they got the 3 out alive. When they returned home, a veterinarian confirmed the gilts who survived the trailer fire needed to be euthanized as their injuries were too severe. Didn't go into any further, too severe for what? Too severe for them to be happy? Too severe for them to want to live? Too severe for them to be show pit? I don't know. Whatever. They needed to be euthanized. And it was apparently hard on Holland, the daughter, to walk through an empty pig bar the next day. Although it's not an uncommon thing. Well, yeah, the pig barn is often empty after the show season is over, I'm sure, because they sell the pigs to slaughter. Although it's not an uncommon thing. As every show season comes to an end, this was not the ending she expected. She had high hopes of taking the Poland gilt to the American Royal in a few weeks. Well, the Poland gilt probably had high hopes of being alive. And the hardest part for the farmer was calling the breeders who leased them the gilts and telling them what happened. So apparently this is a whole rental market. I don't understand how it works. And he called some guy who was associated with the breeders, who told him, "Do not worry about that. These breeders will only care that you, Holland, and Amy are fine. Pigs can be replaced. That's it. That's it. That says it all, doesn't it? How do you uh, uh, how do you deal with the way this makes you feel? I'm damned if I know. Some days it just gets to me. And that's it for this week's Rising Anxieties. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe, either on your favorite podcatcher or on YouTube, and like once in a while. It really helps us out.